Hello, you're listening to Liberty Rants. Well, it looks like the mainstream media has officially declared Joe Biden as the president-elect. Of course, the media doesn't declare who will be the next president, like many Americans seem to believe. The Electoral College decides. In fact, the next president will not be declared until January 6th, after much of the litigation and many of the discovered voting issues are settled. But Biden is definitely the frontrunner as of right now. And upon the media's declaration, Biden took the stage and called for unity. He said he would work to bring this divided nation together. Why don't you have a listen?
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States. And to unite us here at home, it's the honor of my lifetime that so many millions of Americans have voted for that vision. Like for all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself. But now, let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies, they are Americans.
It's funny how some nice words seem to mesmerize people and make them forget the past. Because this speech seemed to work for those joyful with the current results of the election. I saw posts and comments on Facebook saying they were tired of the country being divided and that we should all just come together. Now, while I do believe that unity brings strength and working together for a common goal is generally a positive thing, these types of sentiments expressed by leftist officials which belong to the Democratic Party seem rather hypocritical, to say the very least. You see, it's hard to ignore that the left and the left-leaning media have just spent 4+ years fighting the legitimacy of President Trump while also bashing him and his followers into the ground every single chance they could. There was not one single late-night show that did not target the president or his supporters for 4 years straight.
Our president, though, is a big supporter of Columbus Day. He and Christopher Columbus actually have a lot in common. They both spread disease and both failed spectacularly at what they were hired to do. Our contaminator-in-chief was in Florida tonight. He had a big maskless rally. He says the doctors gave him the okay to do it. That's good news, though. It'll be nice to get back to having a president who's only mentally ill.
Trump's entire plan for dealing with this pandemic is sort of la, 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 la.
So far, it has been a rough start to the school year for Donald Trump. His report card is definitely going to say, has problems working and playing well with others.
Too fast, 2 Corinthians. When Vin Diesel said to Jesus, hey, long hair, pop the clutch and let's ride.
So now if Biden officially becomes president, should Trump supporters and conservatives really just let bygones be bygones and unify with the left as Americans? Because you see, now that the left is assuming control, they really would like for Americans to unify. But let's dissect what unity really means. Unity means coming together as one. But what people miss when listening to these nicely worded speeches is that people only come together or unify on common beliefs and common goals. Thus, we all want unity. But what's important to note is that the nation isn't divided because it doesn't want unity. It's divided on principles. And the left knows this. Thus, this speech was just a platitude. It was something that was written up to sound nice, to calm Americans, and accept the election results. But asking for unity is just foolish thinking now, because neither the left nor conservative leaning want unity or to work together on a common goal. Their ideas and ideals are completely different. Why would any conservative leaning person want unity when their idea of the government's roles and policies are completely the opposite? Why would they play nice with someone when their moral codes are totally different? On top of that, you think that conservatives are now just going to forgive being labeled as deplorables, Nazis, racist, and fascist for 4 years straight? You think conservatives are just going to accept the Democrats' Marxist policies and worldview? Ones that cater to ideas such as collectivism, social justice, political correctness, postmodernism, social constructionism, and allow for mass censorship? These ideas that are being slipped into our society through our public education system and universities that us taxpayers are funding? You think that we will accept all those policies that sound great and grand in titles and in theory, but will drastically increase taxes and government control and thus reduce our livelihoods? Policies like the Green New Deal, universal health care, student loan forgiveness? You think we should just accept the continual growth and obviously ineffective and corrupt programs that we have no choice but to fund through our taxes? Programs like welfare and food stamps? You must be insane to think that unity will occur. The leftist policies are in direct opposition to what conservatives value and see as solutions to our country's problems. Having said all this, I too want unity. Regardless of who becomes president, I too want the country to come together. But I don't just spew platitudes to sound good like some, government official or Joe Biden. I really want to come together on ideas. But that doesn't mean we should just roll over and work with Democrats or leftists to implement their ideals. It really means us conservative-leaning thinkers must go to war. But not the type of war that has been waged on conservatives over the last 4+ years. We must have a war of ideas, a war of persuasion. This doesn't mean calling people names or using violence. Us conservative-leaning people have been falsely labeled the worst possible things on the planet: racists, fascists, and Nazis. We have to expose the falsities of these labels and the hidden agenda of the left to provide the truth. We must expose their ineffective, immoral, and even inhumane policies. This isn't done through shouting or through violence. It's done through debate. We must show through facts and examples that focusing on individualism, limited and localized government, and freedom of choice is not only more effective, but is also much more humane and will provide better lives for everyone. But I'm afraid to say that due to how far the left has already infiltrated our society, we're going to have to stand up and downright resist leftist policies and the expansion of government. Not through violence, but through refusal to comply, particularly the disastrous and failed COVID policies, censorship, and those policies that remove natural rights, such as freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. We can no longer be pushovers. To quote Martin Luther King Jr., one has not only a legal, but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. And regardless of who's officially declared president, we must have a war of ideas between ourselves as well. Us who lean conservative must come together to refine our ideas. That means all of us: Republicans, Libertarians, Conservatives, and classical liberals. We need to challenge Republican and conservative leaders as well. Some of the policies that our side has been in favor of are out of touch and ineffective. Some even rely on large government and some on misinformation. Some are anti-freedom. These ideas must be challenged and reformed. I'm calling for all of us conservatives to work together to be more active in politics and our society in general. I'm going to release videos discussing current events and challenging ineffective policies and to expose the leftist ideology. Through debate and resistance to overreaching and one-size-fits-all government, I'm confident we can really change minds to make America great and defeat the left.